G'day fellas and welcome to a casted game of Age of Empires 4. Today not only do we have 2 new civilizations, but I'm sure you will have noticed we have a brand new biome, and I will just say right now, I already messaged Cal, he's our admin for the Outback Octagon 4 tournament. I'm like, hey, every single game needs to be played on this biome. Is this not the best looking biome you've ever seen? Look at the detail in the foliage that we've got here. It is right up there with the Japanese spring biome. So look, I'm excited for this biome. I'm also excited for this casted game. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get into it. We got 2 of the new civilizations facing off today, mono e mono. Spawning in on the east side of the map in the color yellow, playing as the Golden Horde. It's Myriad. And over on the west side of the map in the color purple, playing as the Macedonian dynasty, it's Corvinus 1. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a casted game. A pleasure to have your company today. Now, I will just note at the top of the screen, you'll see that we've got the names and they're around the wrong way. There is a bug at the moment. Hopefully it gets fixed shortly, but basically if I was to flip these names, it would also flip the direction of the text so that it would be showing to you backwards. And I don't mean that it would say like 1SUN. It literally flips the text, so it's almost impossible to read it. I mean, you probably could read it if you had a mirror. But anyway, that's why it looks like that at the moment. So we'll keep an eye on it. Let's talk a little bit about these civilizations. This is the first game we're ever going to be having the Macedonian dynasty playing in this game, or playing on this channel. So I'm incredibly excited to see exactly what Corvinus 1 gets up to. They've got a whole bunch of unique mechanics, so we're going to be exploring, we're going to be following along today with Corvinus 1 and seeing how he's doing. Now, keep in mind, if you haven't already, make sure you check him out. Make sure you check out Myriad. I'll leave a link in the description of where you can catch both of these guys. They stream over on Twitch, and of course, with the DLC going live very, very soon, make sure not only you pick it up, but make sure you go check these guys out because they are really good Conqueror 3 players. So it looks like a pretty standard opening so far here for Corvinus. I will tell you what, it's a little bit difficult throwing, or like, I'm looking up to the UI to try and understand where the villager numbers are, and I look over here, I'm like, hold on, there's no 3 villagers on gold, and then I get all confused. So it might take me a little bit of getting used to with having these guys flipped around. All right, well, we'll check in on Myriad because his age up, well, his age up's still a little bit off. Corvinus 1's got his age up that he could be taking any second right now. Now, which way is he going to go? I suspect he's going to go Grand Winery. There's no way he goes Hippodrome, right? He's got to be going Grand Winery. He's got to be putting it right there. All right, it's the Grand Winery. Okay, I was kind of hyping up the Hippodrome, hoping that it was going to be the Hippodrome. It's going to be the Grand Winery. Now, why would you go the Grand Winery? You'd go the Grand Winery because it's incredible. This landmark is insane. Oh, by the way, the map here, Dry Arabia. I appreciate it. It might be a little bit difficult to tell, but yeah, this is Dry Arabia. So the Grand Winery is just incredible for the Macedonian dynasty. I can't imagine you ever picking any other landmark. It's incredible. Why is it so good? Well, because professional scouts plus Grand Winery equals profit. Villagers gather food 30% faster when affected by its aura. Relics garrison generates silver instead of gold, and it acts as a mill and a monastery. So you can get that. You can already pick up that early upgrade here. He's only got the 2 vills on gold, so I suspect he's probably not going to be running professional scouts in this game, or at least not at this stage. But that is obviously an option for you. You can see he's moved out to the berries. Now, keep in mind, you're not going to get that bonus gather rate to berries or to olive groves because, well, we don't have olive groves here. This is a Byzantine variant, but it is not the Byzantine civilization. Anyway, let's check on the other side of the map. Let's see how Myriad is doing and exactly what he's up to. So he's aging up at the moment. He's going up with the Khan and Torguts. Now, he's got 2 options when it comes to aging up, like most civilizations. The other option is building carts, which I think probably needs a little bit of a buff at the moment, just mainly because Khan and Torguts is so damn good. So he ages up through the Golden Tent, similar to the Abbasids. This is a landmark in the sense that if you kill it, he will die. But at the same time, he only has to build 1 of these. That's it. So very similar to the Abbasids, he's only got these 2 landmarks. And another thing to note, unlike the Mongols, he cannot move these landmarks. If you come in and you try and take these down, yes, he's going to be in for a root surprise. Anyway, age up has come through over for Corvinus. Let's check in and see exactly what the play is for him. Immediately drops down the Varangian Stronghold. Now, keep in mind, he can technically get this in the first age. So I don't know whether or not he was just waiting for, maybe he needed that wood to come through. Also going to be going for the Varangian Arsenal. Let's talk a little bit about these buildings and understand them. Keep in mind, our focus in this game is going to be largely on the Macedonian dynasty, just because the new mechanics of both civilizations is pretty overwhelming for even someone like me, who's got quite a bit of hours already in the game. So let's just focus in. The Varangian stronghold that we've got right here, it can build all Varangian units. So there's 4 different Varangian units, as you can see right here. Essentially, you've got your Varangian guard, you've got your spearman, you've got your archer, and you've got your knight. That's the best way to think about it. But they are technically unique units, all a little bit different, all slight advantages. You do have access to the the early Varangian Guard, like the early men-at-arms. So this is a really cool building. Now, it is a little bit more expensive. We can see right here, 200 wood, but it saves you in the event that you want to, say, move into archers. Well, easy done. Easy done. You can get both of them out. So I think there's a lot of flexibility that can be had, especially in the early game, even towards the late game. You can just pump out a whole bunch of Varangian strongholds, and it feels really good to be able to do it because you're only spending 200 wood, and you're effectively getting the ability to tech switch throughout the game, and that's very powerful. The next building that we've got here, the Varangian Arsenal, is your blacksmith replacement. You can see a whole bunch of upgrades in here. We're not going to go too deep into them at the moment. Instead, we're going to focus on this resource here over on the right-hand side, silver. The way this works is quite simple. You gather gold, you get some silver. Every 10 you drop off, you get 4 back, so 40% is the way that it works. Now, there's a second component to this. Not only do you generate gold, or rather, not only do you generate silver every time you drop off gold, but every time you drop off gold to a mining camp or stone to a mining camp, and subsequently you get that silver, it's tallied up in the mining camp. So if we take a look here at this mining camp, you can see it's slowly over time getting tallied up, the amount of silver that you've been producing. And as a result, it will give you 12%, I know it gets complicated, it will give you 12% of the total silver that you have generated. So if you've generated, just to give you some quick math, if you've got a 4,000 gold vein, that will give you 1,600 silver. That 1,600 silver is 12% of that 1,600 silver, which works out to be, what, about 200 silver-ish, maybe a little bit less, 188, somewhere in that region, per minute. So you've got an instantaneous way to gather it, and you've also got the way to gather it, or that trickle that comes through. Now, in the event that you do lose your mining camp, you just rebuild it in the same place that you had before, and it will still retain that bonus. So the devs did think about that. If anyone decided they were going to come in and snipe you, not going to be happening here. Now, what kind of strategy is Corvinus 1 going for? It kind of looks a little bit like a fast castle. That's what I'm seeing here. We can see a lot of Torgoods coming out here. The Torgood is a unit unique to the Golden Horde. Very similar to a Keshik. Actually, not at all similar to a Keshik. It's a heavy cavalry unit. That's about the only similarity that there is. One of the really cool mechanics about this unit is we've got the Khan here, right here, the Batu Khan. And any damage that he takes will be redirected to the Torgood. In this case, we've got a single Torgood that is currently marked with that. So any damage that he receives will instantly go over to the Torgood. And this is a great way for you to guarantee that any buffs that you're able to apply with your Khan are going to be able to last throughout the fight, as long as you've got Torgoods that are there to sacrifice themselves for you. Meanwhile, towards the front, we see a war camp now starting to come up. The Varangian war camp. This building, a bit curious, but I will explain it to you. Once we finish with this raid, you can see that Corvinus 1 may potentially be losing a villager here. Not going to be the case. And you can see, despite the overwhelming number of cavalry here, Myriad not going to be committing underneath the town center. It looks like this Torgood back here may potentially go down. A couple archers also arriving to the front. So the way the war camp works is quite interesting. So the Macedonians are a combination. I don't know if combination is the right word. I don't want to get too in the weeds with it, because I know there's always going to be someone who's a lot more qualified than me who corrects me in the comments. But basically, the way that it works is simple. If you lose 6 units, you get 1 back. That's the way that it works. You get a nice little refund there. So if you lose 6 Varangian Guard, you'll get a free Varangian Guard back. That's essentially it. Now, speaking of Varangian Guards, we do have a bit of movement out here. Myriad's numbers looking pretty convincing early on in this game. Now, I'm just going to say, is it a little bit loud for you guys, the music? Let me check my levels. Give me a second right here. That is a bit loud. Let me turn it down. Hold on. I'm just gonna slowly turn it down. Okay, hopefully that's a little bit more manageable. I probably made it too quiet now, so apologies on it. Let me turn it up just again. All right, let's go there. The Mongol vocals can get very high tense. Oh, I also wanted to apologize. I know we're 9 minutes through this video, but I just wanted to apologize the lack of uploads for the last couple of days. I got gastro. Really good timing. Yeah, so food poisoning. Me, my sons, we all got gastro, and it wasn't fun. Little guy in the back of the car, just sitting there, just chilling out. I gave him a chip and just spewed up. It was the biggest spew you've ever seen in your life as well. God. Anyway, we're all better now, though. That's the good news. I tell you what, we've got, what is it, paracetamol. I guess you probably got paracetamol where you live as well. And it's surprising how much it lifts you, man. I don't know if it's just the placebo. Anyway, we'll talk less about that and more about this game as the upgrades are starting to come through here for Corvinus 1. Now, speaking of upgrades, there is one upgrade that we have not yet talked about, or at least one set of upgrades that we've not yet talked about, and that is the Varangian Arsenal. This is where your silver all comes in. Now, of course, you're gathering silver every time you drop off. You've also got that trickle of silver. We can see it's up to 64 a minute at the moment. And what do you do with that silver? You use it to purchase upgrades. That is right. You get it. Your upgrades are a bit weird. They're not similar to, or they're similar to the blacksmith upgrades, but still very different in what they do. You're not upgrading a specific thing like melee armor. You're upgrading a unit type. So here is an example. We're increasing the melee or the damage of all melee infantry by 1. That's it. Now, interestingly, you'll notice that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 little bars at the top there, which indeed means that your spears can get +6 damage compared to the normal +3 damage. That's quite a bit. And on top of that, you can get double upgrades in the feudal age, double upgrades in the castle age, and it means that by the Imperial Age, you pretty much got all your upgrades, or you're already ahead of your Imperial Age opponent when it comes to their upgrades with regard to armor. And of course, with the way that armor works in Age of Empires 4, that is really significant. But right on board here with Myriad. We'll talk less about the armor, maybe bring it in a little bit. But this army is really starting to build up here. Now, one thing I'd love to talk about, just quickly, is the fact that when it comes to playing this civilization, the Golden Horde, you don't actually need to start with a stable, because your Golden Tent acts as a stable. You've got the ability to build the Batu Khan as well as the Torgud from the Golden Tent. And it means that you can just get a single archery range down, and you can make 2 different types of units. So both of these civilizations really do have a something quite different than what we see with the standard roster, and that's the ability to build multiple types of units with just a single building. So really cool. I shouldn't say with just a single building, with a single military building, because technically this isn't a military building. It's a landmark. It's an Age 2 landmark. There's no military. I just want to make sure I'm very specific, because otherwise there'll be that one guy in the comment that's like, hey, technically the Golden Tent is a building. It's like, yep, all right, you got me. You got me there, bud. Okay, well, so far, Micro looks pretty decent from both of these guys. No overwhelming mistakes. I will just say there is a distinct lack of spears coming out from Corvinus 1. Now, keep in mind, it's going to take me a while to learn the unique names for each of these units. So these ones right here, have a go at saying that. Adgimar. Oh, no, I need to look up. I'm going to have to do a course in Macedonian, ancient Macedonian and Viking numbers and letters. Let's do that. Oh, we got ourselves a runestone thrown down. A runestone. So the way that it works is quite simple. As the Varangians hit things, they get charges. And as they build up charges, they get the ability to drop a runestone. What does a runestone do? Runestones support nearby Varangian units, enhancing their weapons and movement speed. Each unit gets a different bonus. So Varangian range weapons get +1 tile, melee damage by 1, and movement speed by 15. So you get archers that get an extra 15% movement speed. So here we can see 1.44 movement speed. And they also get 1 tile of range more. They've moved out of the range of the runestone here. Now, one thing to note, you can't stack these up. So you can't get 7 runestones and have 7 range and 7 bonuses to your movement speed. Doesn't work like that. But this runestone, now that it's been placed down, it can't be killed. And it will stay there. So anytime you move close to it, it will provide that in an AoE around it. So what you can do is set up runestones as you've got charges. And if you're retreating, you can drop runestones. You do technically have to build them. They're a little bit weird. If you tell all your army to build the runestone, they'll all dive and try and get to that runestone position. But overall, it's pretty intuitive the way that it works. No age ups coming through yet for either of these players into the castle age. Curiously, we are 13 minutes through and not a single sign of it. We've got some more upgrades on the way that we'll have to keep an eye out for. The Khan debuff arrow as well going to be coming through. One thing that we haven't spoken about is the Batu Khan. Let's talk a little bit more in depth about him and the way that he works. So he's got this bonus. Basically the way that it works is he has a war cry. As he hits things, that builds up, and then once it reaches a threshold, all of a sudden every unit gets a buff. However, once he dies, they lose that buff. And if he stops hitting things, they also lose that buff. So it's really important that he stays alive and that he keeps hitting things. And that's part of why the Torgud exists, to protect him and make sure that he doesn't just get focused down immediately. Kind of like Joan of Arc. You know how you see Joan of Arc and all of a sudden she just gets one-shot by the 30 crossbows on the backline? You're like, I don't know why I bothered with Joan of Arc. Anyway, that's a story for another day. Okay, let's take a look at how Corvinus 1 is doing back here. So he's picking up more upgrades. What have we got? We've got armor for range units as well as a little bit of health. He's picked up armor for melee units as well as a little bit of health. He's also picked up 1 level so far of the range damage. You can see it's quite expensive, even moving into that second level, or that second bonus for ranged damage. So it's quite a bit for him to do that, but he's now looking to really focus in on that. Now we see that boost coming through. That's the debuff arrow from the Batu Khan. It's going to be firing down. You should be here. Unwavering focus has also been provided. So there's the debuff arrow. Wavering focus. or unwavering focus. They ignore 2 armor, but they move slower for 10 seconds. So obviously very helpful in this situation where the Keshiks have got 4 armor, reduces that down to 2. It might not seem like a lot, but you got to remember when you're only doing 6 or 7 damage, it can really make a big difference. It's essentially like 100% movement, or sorry, an extra 100% attack. Probably not 100, maybe a little bit less. We got the cistern of the first hill. Now going to be coming down over on the west side of the map. Beautiful position for it here as well. The landmark has been completely changed for the Macedonian dynasty. Let's talk a little bit about the way that this works. Macedonians have got Cistern of the First Hill. It charges an ability used for boosting the work rate of military and research buildings. If used on a mining camp, lumber camp, or farm, it begins earning 160 gold, wood, or food over 60 seconds, and it holds 9 charges. So basically think of it like a Yorishiro, in a sense. It has the same function of a Yorishiro, except it's temporary. And what I like about this a lot is because as soon as you age up, Corvinus 1 can choose to do a number of different things. But what I'd love to see him do is sploosh here immediately and immediately look to get the upgrades, and that's exactly what he does. He knows what he's doing. This guy has absolutely theory crafted his mind out of this civilization. So the sploosh that you can see, and it goes up right there, he's splooshed over here. That's why I gotta be careful with the way I say splooshed. He's splooshing all over this guy. You know what? It's gonna stick around. The devs, you guys decided to say sploosh. We're just gonna put it in there. So anyway, I started splooshing. Sorry. So you can also do this. You can see we've got it on farms here, and this is obviously going to be boosting up some food as well. So it's generating some food for Corvinus 1 here. So a nice little way that he can balance the economy. Now the age up's coming through on the other side. This will obviously get scouted out by Corvinus 1. You can see this little thing going at the top here. Meanwhile, Raid's behind the scenes. Kashik's going to try and hit together with the Torgood here. But the offense is looking solid for Corvinus 1. A lot of units in underneath this town center. Look at the amount of armor on these bad boys. 7 armor at this stage on the Varangian guards. Huge amount. Vil's now going to get caught out of position underneath the town center. Unfortunate mistake here for Myriad. And now he's hunting. He's looking for that army. You can see Corvinus 1 knows exactly how to play in this situation. You want to try and find the enemy before they can get their upgrades in. You do not want them to age up. You don't want them to get their upgrades. And if they do, you're going to be down a huge amount. But fortunately, he does manage to find it. Corvinus 1, the hero of today's game, the Macedonian dynasty. Is he going to be able to find it? Runestone gets thrown down, gets a little bit of extra movement speed on the back line, but unfortunately, he gets the unwavering focus. Not really going to help him in this situation. Lines with the Keshiks towards the middle of the map. Continues to pick off the spearman. He retreats his way back. The new age begins. He'll look for his upgrades now. We take a look on the top left, and you can see 30 seconds for veteran Keshiks, 55 seconds for veteran archers. It's going to be a while. He needs to continue running as fast as he can. He's got to pretend he's the gingerbread man at the moment. We got more vills that are a little bit of idle over here. He's done a really good job with the farms. Meanwhile, back over towards this right side. Let's focus less on the economy and more on the battle. I mean, the Varangian guards are just notorious for this, right? I remember back in the good old days when people would just make meta arms in Age 2 and they'd run you around like this, and you're like, how do I beat them? I just don't understand. And now we can see the upgrades finally come through from the Keshiks. They got a huge amount of armor themselves. 7 ranged armor is ridiculous. They got the heals coming through. Varangian guards gonna pop their berserking, reduce their own armor so they get a little bit more damage so they can cut through that enemy armor. And now, finally, the Bogmadar make their way to the fore here. We can see they've got their unwavering focus teeing off on the enemy position. They've got 9 damage base. On top of that, they get that extra little bit of boost so that they do 11 damage, which definitely starts to add up. And now the Torguard tanking on the front. The Badu Khan, nowhere to be seen. Exactly where is that man? Looks like he's only just coming back right now. No, there he is right there as more Torguards come out. And reinforcements. Beautiful timing here from Myriad. As he now makes his way back to the front, he's able to defend quite capably here. And now we can see this nice little pop-off right here. This is an indication that everybody has now been buffed up, but it's not going to last for very long. There's not too many units to hit around here. And unfortunately, Corvinus 1 says, well, we took out a lot of villages, but we didn't really do too much in the way of military. He chased and he chased, but unfortunately, at the end of the day, the army from Myriad is quite significant and quite scary, we can see here. Villagers going to try and retreat here. Defense is quite solid. Once again from Corvinus 1, as we've got the... I'm sorry. I can't... Give me a day or two. Give me a day or two. I gotta study. I will study the way of the Varangian, of the Macedonian. I will study. And I will make sure that we do it correctly. All right, we got ourselves the debuff arrow coming down from Badu Khan. So what does the debuff arrow do? Great question. It reveals a signal arrow that reveals a 10-tile range and makes enemies receive 10% damage in the targeted area. Now we can see that second buff coming off the Golden Khan aura, which increases the damage by +2. I think it works out to be 10%, or actually it's 20% now, because we're in the second age. Well, sorry, third age, I should say. We're at the second level in the third age. Okay, we've also got arrow slits that have come through on the Varangian Stronghold. Another upgrade that you can do to them is give them arrow slits. Now, they don't have any place for you to store units inside or villages inside, but it's an arrow slit, man. You're not gonna, are you gonna argue with arrow slits? And I'm pretty sure it's arrow slits for all of them as well, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. So it really gives you a strong ability to defend, to reinforce, and to tech switch all from the same building, which is crazy. It is a really, really good building to be able to have, especially towards these mid to high level games. This is obviously a much higher level game, but yeah, to be able to control that, it is incredibly powerful. Let's check in and see how Myriad is doing at the moment. So he started to add in a couple of stockyards. These are the unique food gathering building here for the Golden Horde. One thing to note about these buildings is that they do act as a mill and a farm together. So these villagers have basically almost zero idle time. You can see they stand up, they hand in their lamb chop, and they're back to work. That's it. That's it. They take a little bit for themselves, and then they keep on going. And this is quite powerful. Now, on top of that, they also are very small buildings comparatively to a farm, because a farm would require. So this is the same size as a barracks, whereas a farm would require even more, the same size as a town center for 4 farms. And because of that, it means that you can have a really small base as the Golden Horde and yet still have a very effective economy. So definitely very good at playing with your back to the wall of this civilization. Now we've got another unique building to talk about. Unfortunately, it is burning down at the moment, the fortified outpost. This building, boy oh boy, it's a mechanic that we haven't even touched on yet, at least in this game. We've probably touched on it in the, well, I know we've touched on it in other videos. And that is the Edict mechanic. So the way that it works is quite simple. Your fortified outposts across your entire game have the ability to receive an edict from the Golden Tent. The Golden Tent will send out an edict. It will say, hello, we want to provide a new buff to everybody. And that buff will be applied to all of your fortified outposts, no matter where they are. You can't pick and choose which one gets what buff. All you get to choose is all of the buffs that go. Now, we do have a little bit of a hunt going on right here, and you can see that he's got absolutely no clue where these units went. Did they go up here? No, they didn't go up here. They're still sitting, they're waiting. You can see he's trying to bait them back, and oh, we've got the little daggers being thrown off right here. This is the brand new unique, is it the Radari? I want to say, yeah, the Radari. Look, we got that one right. Well done, Drongo. The throw axes. So basically, they can throw axes from range. Crossbow's obviously got a lot of things to say about that. Not going to be throwing any axes today, my friends. And he does end up finding this army towards the north. Let's see whether or not he's going to be able to cut it off. We've got quite some big swords here on the Rus tributes. But yeah, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, the Edict. So basically, you've got a whole bunch of different buffs that you can apply. So kind of think of it like the Temple of the Golden Sun for the Juicy Legacy. Basically the same sort of thing, and you can choose which buffs you want to apply. And that's just a global buff, basically. All right, well, we once again have ourselves a little bit of a battle here on the 23rd minute. Let's switch it over to income per minute so you can see exactly where these guys are at. But let's focus more on the battle here, as crossbow numbers are starting to look a little bit better for Myriad. He should be able to get through the majority of these Radari here at the front. We can still see them throwing off their axes, and now the Batu Khan towards the north. You can see how he's got this little crown. That means that there's no Torgood left to prepare or to protect him. And as a result, when he goes down, the buff that he provides will also be going down. He throws it up into the air one last time, but he stands tall and strong and says, no, Drongo, I will survive. I will continue. I will thrive. Looks like he's going to be okay, at least for today. And now the forces continue. Myriad looking very good in this mid game here. Lumber preservation now coming through. Some more upgrades. Have a look at the upgrades that are on the way right now as well for Corvinus 1. Big upgrades. So let's talk about some of those edicts. What can you provide? Well, the first one that you get is an extra 50% military building production speed. Is that the best way to say it? So if you produced a unit in 30 seconds, now you produce it in 20 seconds. It starts off as 20%, and then it goes up to, like, I don't know, 35%, then 50, and then 75. Probably something like that. It's tiered, it's scaled. So that's the first one. And so what you would only be receiving that to military buildings within the influence of a fortified outpost. So these buildings here do not get it. So we can still see that there's quite a bit of base building required for this civilization that Myriad is still yet to master. The second edict you've got access to is a defensive aura edict, giving 10% health to all of the units nearby. So we can see that denoted by this radius right here. Any unit within this radius here will get 10% extra health, which is a fair amount of health. So definitely a welcome addition. The third edict, which you're actually going to have to pay stone for, is the Karash edict. We haven't talked about this unit. In fact, I don't even think we've seen this unit out today. But it essentially means that every time you train a set of units, because when it comes to this civilization, something else we didn't touch on, you train everything in batches. 2 villagers, 2 crossbows, 2 Keshiks, 2 horsemen. Everything is in batches, and 4 Rus tributes. So there's that is another factor, but every time you do that, you will get yourself a Karash. And what is a Karash, you might be asking? Google it. It's not pretty. No, I will tell you. Basically, it's a unit that provides armor to nearby units. You may infer from that whatever it is that you like, but it wasn't a fun job. Let's just put it that way. Job is a very loose term. And then our final edict, everyone's favorite edict, it is Stockyard Edict, and it allows your stockyards to generate gold as well as food in the late game. It's quite expensive. I think it's 800 stone for that bad boy. So you're definitely going to be saving those for rainy days and not for the days where you are aggressive and, you know, there's lots of sun out. Speaking lots of sun out, can we just talk about how good this biome is? Isn't this the most beautiful biome there is? I mean, Japanese spring's pretty good as well, but I like this a lot more. This is just so, this is neutral but good. Like, Japanese spring is overwhelmingly pink, and sometimes I just wasn't feeling that zesty. And, you know, some days you do wake up, you're feeling a little bit zesty, but yeah, not today. Not today. Today is definitely a tropical kind of day, and that's exactly what we've got. Speaking of tropical, like, is it just me or is like the tropical biome IRL just the best biome? I mean, it's kind of hot, but if you've got air conditioning, you can combat that. I don't know. I guess it depends. You always want what you can't have, right? I live in Melbourne in Australia, and right now it's 12 degrees outside. That's not Fahrenheit. Fahrenheit, that'd probably be like, I don't know, 40 degrees or something like that. It's raining. But I also like that weather. I like all weather. That's a good thing, right? Anyway, second TC has come up from Myriad, so he's going to be looking to regain that lead that he once, or I shouldn't say looking to regain that lead, but looking to regain that village account that he definitely did lose to Corvinus 1 a little bit earlier. Corvinus 1 at the same time also looking to build up, but not so much focused on the economy, instead really focused on the military. We see him investing quite a bit into the amount of units he's got. A lot of these unique spears out now. When it comes to relics, we've had a 3-2 split between the two. Keep in mind, this is Dry Arabia. It doesn't look like Dry Arabia, but I assure you it is dry and it is Arabia, despite the biome. You know, I wouldn't mind a couple of ponds in here. Like, that would really go quite nice. Just a pond somewhere. I think, didn't the OG Arabia in AoE 2 have some ponds? Maybe I'm getting crazy. Who knows? Okay, we got Sacred Victory approaching for Corvinus 1. I think it's unlikely. He's more just looking to pick himself up a little bit of gold here, which is understandable. Now, it also looks like he hasn't utilized the Grand Winery to put his relics inside, instead opting for the monastery. I think this may be a little oversight. Maybe he's just forgotten that he could build them out of the Grand Winery, the monks. Or maybe he just wants gold instead. Maybe he just wanted gold instead. I wouldn't put it past Corvinus 1 to be like, actually, gold is better than silver, so I went for it. And speaking of silver, dude, he's on 700 silver a minute. So let's take a look at how much silver he's actually making. 184 silver a minute coming through here. Nothing here. Over here, we've got 192 silver coming through. Then he should have more on his stone. So he hasn't actually mined any of the stone. The poor man has got 300 stone to his name and he's never looked any other way. So back over towards this side. So you can see he's got the Varangian Arsenal. So you need to have the Varangian Arsenal next to the mining camp for it to get this bonus. It needs to have that adjacency there. So 12%, we can see that coming through here. So he's just essentially looking to continue building up this network. So my theory with this civilization is you probably want to try and work to gather as much gold as you can to subsequently gather as much silver as you can. And then the more silver that you gather, the more upgrades you get. Let's take a look at the upgrades and see how he's doing, because if we take a look at the top, you can see some of them he's gone quite deep in and some not so much. So we've got fortifications, which he hasn't gone into at all, which is understandable. But keep in mind, as you level up each of these, they get more expensive, a lot more expensive. So here, this is a level 1. It's only 200 silver, whereas down here, we've got the level 3, which is 700. Now let's take a look at the level 5, 2,000 silver. So it can vary quite a bit here with the costs of these. So I think it's definitely worthwhile to consider getting some of those less optimal upgrades, just simply because they are cheaper, right? Like, you know what? Having an extra 20% health on your buildings, yeah, maybe it is worth it. Maybe it is worth it. Anyway, we got ourselves some Kairos moving forward, and indeed they are. I think it might be time. Indeed, it might be time. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to get into the cinematic mode as these two armies begin to face off. The Macedonians on the left of your screen, on the right, the Golden Horde. And the reinforcements continue to come through. Quite a bit of Keshiks here. He's got a bit of an awkwardly placed gold vein that he's going to have to deal with, and indeed he has to give it up. Says, you know what, that's a lot of siege. I don't think I can deal with it. The way that he's playing, it makes me think, is he considering going Imperial here? Just from the, he seems very reluctant to take this fight. The Keshik numbers look pretty decent though, but at the same time, we do have a lot of unique spears in here. Keshik's gonna make the commitment up towards the north side. More reinforcements coming through from the Rus tributes here. We can see them with their shields. We haven't even talked about that age up yet, but don't worry, we'll save it for another time, another day, maybe a little bit later on in the game. And look at Corvinus 1. Jeez Louise, what are these units, bro? These are just cracked. He's completely dominating. The armor. Oh, this is ridiculous. Look at the amount of armor that he's got on these things. Don't look at the Varangian Guard. That's going to be dishonest to you. He's got +3 armor already at this stage. Now looking for stone armies. I was correct. He was going Imperial Myriad. So yeah, you could definitely tell by the way he was playing that he didn't really want to commit to the fight at all. He was really doing everything he could to try and avoid taking the fight. Just trying to provide that minimal pressure that he possibly could. How's he doing with... Oh my god, look at the military number. Corvinus 1 just absolutely whooped him. And now the Palatine School is coming in. Now, this is another thing that I just want to talk about. Palatine School absolutely cracked for the Macedonians. Let's just talk about why. When it comes to the Macedonians, you might be looking at the silver mean going, okay, you know what? I'm making 184 silver a minute. That's pretty sick. I can get lots of upgrades. There's going to be a point where you say, hey, you know what? I've got enough upgrades because these new upgrades, they're way too expensive. It gets to like 6,000 silver. So what am I going to do instead? I'm just going to take all that silver and I'm just going to put it into cataphracts, dude. And this is cataphracts printed every 20 seconds. 750, that's 3 of them. 750 silver for 3. You are printing effectively 6 to 7 stables of cataphracts, non-stop. Elite, by the way. Fully upgraded cataphracts, ready to go. Bro, this is so scary. Look how much he's got in here. Literally like 12 fully upgraded cataphracts ready to come out in the next 80 seconds. If this army doesn't end the game, the cataphracts will. Those things are incredible. And you don't have to get the elite upgrade because they've already got them. Now Corvinus 1 really starting to push and shove his opponent through. Myriad going to be holding on for dear life. I don't know how he's going to be able to deal with it. Keep in mind, we've had some splooshes back here, and he's picked up all of these upgrades very, very quickly. Already got those elite spearmen, unique spearmen upgrades. Apologies. You can see how cool they look. They've got that gold helmet to denote that they're elite upgraded. And now we've got that little bonus coming through from the runestone as he spreads them out. We've got 1 runestone in the base. Meanwhile, towards the north, the first of the landmarks slowly going down. And that's going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. The game is over. Corvinus 1 takes the victory with the Macedonian dynasty. Make sure you check them out. I'll leave a link in the description of where you can catch them live. And of course, make sure you check out the DLC. I'll leave a link to Steam down below. And I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.